Hello, this is 1.2 to the right side. Let's do some order of operations. To simplify these, we follow the order of operations. Remember, here they are. Sorry, the letter M is not written very neatly. We do multiplication or division left to right between those two operations. When it comes down to only addition and subtraction remaining, again, we do those left to right. So in number 1, I see parentheses, so I need to simplify in the parentheses if I can. So this is 7. Negative 1 plus 5 is 4. Don't forget to bring down everything else that is in the problem. I can't simplify these parentheses anymore right here. 7 is 7 and 4 is 4, so I'm done with simplifying what's in parentheses. Next is looking for any exponents. This is an exponent, and it's attached to the base of 4. So this means 4 squared. 4 squared is equivalent to 16. Bring down the times 7. These parentheses right here, this means 7 times 4 to the power of 2. So now I've gotten, doesn't matter when you get rid of the parentheses necessarily, but I changed this, what means multiplication, to a multiplication dot there. You get 112. Number 2, again, do what's in the parentheses first. We get negative 2. Now what's going on between my parentheses is division, because there's a division sign there. So now I have 3 minus 1, which is 2, but make sure you bring down the squared. So I am done simplifying inside of the parentheses. Now I need to simplify any bases with exponents. And here I have a base of 2 raised to the power of 2. Means 2 times itself twice, or 2 times 2, which is 4. So I get negative 2 divided by 4, which is negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. Here, careful with number 3. Think of this, you don't need to write this down in the future, but think of this as negative 1, because this is like a sneaky negative. So it's a sneaky negative 1 times 2 to the third plus 3 minus 5 to the third. If you just use a calculator, one of my red calculators, or a good app, the app that comes generically with an iPhone is not very good. I would get a free scientific calculator instead. Anyway, if you just enter, I highlighted the wrong thing. If you just put what was originally there in a good calculator, it will tell you that it's negative 8. How do we get the negative 8? Well, the way I expanded it, 2 to the third is 8, and then I times it by negative 1. So I get a negative 8. Moving ahead. I should really do what's in parentheses first. I got really excited about that, calculating negative 2 to the third. Here we get negative 2. Now that needs to be in parentheses. It does matter that I bring the parentheses down because we're taking whatever the result of 3 minus 5 is and we're raising that to the third. So now what I'm raising to the third power is negative 2. So I'm taking a negative 2 times itself 3 times. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. So this right here all gives me negative 8. I'm adding that to this negative 8 on the left. I get negative 16. Number 4. Here's the expression, but then they tell us that whenever I see an x, I'm going to use 4 in place of it. Whenever I see a y, I put 2 in place of it. So instead of 4 times x divided by y, it's going to be 4 times 4 divided by 2 plus 3 times x. Well, that's going to be the same as 3 times 4 because x is 4 minus 2 times y. So minus 2 times 2 because y is 2. All right, so now looking at PEMDAS on your notes, you ask yourself, are there any parentheses? And if there are, we want to simplify what's in them. So in this parentheses, 4 divided by 2 is 2. But in the other parentheses, notice you can't actually just simplify this 4. So I'm going to just bring it down. There are no exponents. Is there any multiplication? Yes. 4 times 2. Yes. 3 times 4. Yes. 2 times 2. Bring down your operations in between. Now, for here, we need to add and subtract. We need to do those from left to right. So the first operation here is addition. So that's 20, and then we subtract 4. Over here, wherever I see an x, I put in -5. Wherever I see a y, I put in 2. There we are. Now, when you have fractions, you need to simplify the top as much as you can and simplify the bottom as much as you can, and then do the division. So this fraction bar right here is really division, but it will be the last thing that I do. So on the top, I have parentheses. So that's going to give me -3. Put parentheses around that. If you don't, you would get a -9, which is wrong. I should get a +9 on top. On the bottom, I have multiplication right here, 2 times -5. I also have +1. I need to do multiplication first because I do the order of operations top down. Multiplication always comes before addition, unless parentheses tell you differently. So I have -10 plus 1. So on top, I get a 9 because -3 times -3 is a +9. On the bottom, I get a -9. So that gives me a -1. Number 6, I'm going to substitute in first. So I get 7 plus -1. Close my parentheses, squared minus 3 times -1. Parentheses first. So I get 6 squared minus 3 times -1 is -3. Next comes exponents. 36 minus -3. If you punch this into your calculator, like maybe you don't like thinking about doing this in your head, you can either punch into your calculator or remember subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. Your calculator will tell you 39 because 36 minus a -3 is the same as 36 plus a +3 by adding the opposite. Keep, switch, flip, keep, change, flip. There's a few ways that your teachers have taught you that in the past. That's a situation where that can help you out. Number 7. Notice when I do the parentheses again on the right, because there's an exponent with that or outside of that parentheses, I make sure that I put parentheses around my answer. If I didn't, I would get a wrong answer, even in my calculator. -1 is my base. When I square -1, I get +1. If you didn't use parentheses around that base, you would get something different. So I'm getting 3 here. Number 8, simplify the following expressions. I can simplify by distributing, so I get 10x minus 30. Now you stop distributing once the parentheses ends. So I've distributed the 10 through. Now I bring down the plus sign. Guess what? I can distribute here as well. So I get 10 minus 6x. That's good. So I've distributed. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Remember, like terms are things with the same variable and the same power. So this is x to the 1 and x to the 1. So I get 16x to the 1. And then -30 plus 10 is -20. Oh boy, naughty Mr. P. I said I took 10x plus 6x, but I did not do, and this is where I like adding the opposite or chop, chopping, chop, slashing. I totally ignored this minus sign. Remember, the sign to the left of the term, it tells you what it is. So this 6x is actually negative. So it's really 10x plus negative 6x, or 10x minus 6x, if I go back to reading it correctly the way it was initially without my red chop slash. So this should be a 4x. I'm sorry. There we are. Number 9, we get 6x squared minus 6x. Careful here, there's a sneaky negative. This 3 is negative for the same reason that I just talked about. So you get a negative 6x, and you get a negative times a negative, because this x squared is also negative for that same reason. A negative times a negative is a positive 3x squared. So combine your like terms. Here's a like term. I get 9x squared. Here is a like term. I get negative 12x. Bada bing, bada boom. Number 10. Distribute first. 4x plus 4y. The parentheses ended, so there is nothing else to distribute the 4 to. And then there is no distribution after that, but I'm going to copy down what I have. Identify your like terms. It has to have the same letter or variable with the same power. So the 4x and the negative 3x are like terms. That combines to give you a positive 1x. And then 4y plus positive 1y. If it helps to put a 1 in front of this y, do it. That gives you 5y. Beautiful. Last one. 3x minus 21 is what you get when you distribute. Plus 7x plus 42 is what you get when you distribute. Oops, 7x squared. So try to write your answer in standard form. That's the way when you check answers it'll look. It's on a multiple choice test or ACT. The answers will be in standard form. That means pick the largest exponent term and write that first. So that's an x squared term, so I'm going to write that first. And there's nothing to combine it with. Sometimes I like to cross that term off, so I know that I've accounted for it in this next line of work. Next would be x to the 1, which is this one right here. And there's no other x to the 1s, so I'm going to write that down. It's a positive 3, so I put a plus sign in front of it, plus 3x. I'm going to cross that off. Lastly, I get a constant, a number negative 21, plus the number 42. That gives you a positive 21. There we are.